Setting the scene. You describe the peace of rural life, how you thought buying the land would end your days of conflict, and how that illusion was shattered by a mysterious, official-looking sign on your property about an HOA compliance review. Introduction of Karen. She arrives in her pastel pink attire and claims to be the HOA president. Her overly formal attitude and empty threats set the tone for what's coming. You dismiss her thinking she's just a nuisance. Escalation. Karen comes back with signs, patrols, and fake officers. You begin realizing the depth of her determination, even seeing your land marked as a high-resistance target. Part 2. The HOA Raid. Fake cops. The supposed HOA patrolmen show up with clipboards, walkie-talkies, and vests, acting like they have legal authority. They try to intimidate you into compliance, but you stand your ground, showing them your land and making it clear that they don't belong there. The turning point. You discover their raid isn't just about goats and property lines, but a much bigger conspiracy. They leave behind critical evidence, including maps and surveillance photos. The first clue. You contact a sheriff's deputy, who confirms there's no record of any HOA. The deeper you dig, the more you realize this isn't just one woman's power trip. It's a coordinated effort. Part 3. Karen's plan unfolds. Ramping up, Karen doesn't back down. She issues threats, puts up signs about your non-compliance, and turns your neighbors against you. Her campaign is all about control. She starts isolating you socially, making your neighbors suspicious of you. The assault on your life, surveillance of your every move, motion sensors disabled, and the discovery of your dog being injured send a chilling message. You realize this isn't about keeping up appearances. It's about breaking you down mentally. Public exposure. You go public with everything. The video, the fake raid, the evidence, everything is out there and it goes viral. The tide begins to turn against Karen and her fake HOA team. But it's not over. Part 4. The bigger game. The final revelation. You receive a manila folder from Karen. It's not just about the HOA anymore. She's got government backing, and this whole operation was part of a larger federal initiative that you helped design years ago. The conspiracy unfolds. You realize Karen wasn't the mastermind. She was just a cog in the wheel. This was a top-down effort to control landowners and reshape communities through subtle psychological manipulation. Langston's involvement. Your old connections start to dig deeper into Karen's operation, and the investigation uncovers a web of lies, surveillance, and control tactics. They find out it's a federal program, not just a rogue HOA president on a power trip. Part 5. The final showdown, the Phase 4. Threat. Karen's crew comes back to seize your property, armed and ready for whatever fight you bring. But this time, you're ready with high-tech defenses and a sheriff's deputy at your side. The fight. You outmaneuver them, catching them in a trap of your own making. Langston arrives with backup, and they're arrested. But the implications of what's been happening are far greater than you could have imagined. The aftermath. Karen is indicted on federal charges, but you know the fight isn't truly over. It's about a larger pattern of control that could spread to more areas. As you expose the truth, others come forward, revealing that Karen's influence reaches farther than you ever realized. Final twist. The last encrypted file reveals the next stage of the operation, with plans to roll out this compliance program in new areas. It's not just about property, it's about the power to shape and control entire communities. You've won this battle, but the war isn't over. This structure keeps the tension high and allows for a buildup of stakes while keeping the audience hooked on the larger conspiracy. What do you think? You said, Pels mujhe 20 minute ki story chahiye, ChatGPT said, got it. Here's how you can break it down into a 20-minute story. I've added more detail to stretch each part for more immersive storytelling while keeping the pacing tight. Part 1. The quiet before the storm. 5 minutes. Setting the scene. It all started with a life I had carefully built for myself. I had invested everything into a piece of land where silence wasn't eerie. It was healing. A piece of rural property with no deadlines, no distractions, just the kind of life you dream of when you're tired of the chaos. A ranch where I could finally rest, where the only sounds were my goats calling and my old tractor rumbling along. I thought I was done with conflict, but one day everything changed. I was sitting on the porch, enjoying my morning coffee when I noticed it, a white plastic sign zip-tied to my fence. It wasn't something I'd put there, so I took a step closer, reading, "Notice, property under review. Simmons Valley HOA compliance required." I blinked, thinking I'd misread it. But no, it was real. Confused, I ripped it down, tossed it in the fire barrel, and figured it was some prank. Enter Karen, but then the next day, she showed up. Karen Simmons, an HOA president or so, she said. I saw her SUV parked like she owned the place. She stepped out in a pastel pink blazer, pressed khakis, mirrored sunglasses, and a clipboard clutched like a weapon. I was expecting a neighborly hello, but what I got was a lecture about rules I didn't sign up for. "You can't cite a goat," I laughed, thinking she was joking. But she wasn't. She handed me a welcome packet full of fake bylaws and rules. Apparently, my satellite dish was visible from some southern view corridor, an obstruction, they claimed. I threw it in the fire barrel, too. Part 2. The fake raid. 5 minutes, escalation. But Karen didn't stop there. The next day, new signs appeared. Larger, laminated, zip-tied to my barn and fence. This time, they were serious. "Under enforcement review," the signs said. "Violations pending." I tore them down, only for them to come back with nails. But it wasn't just signs anymore. 2 guys dressed in khakis, vests with HOA patrol iron-on patches, and clipboards came to walk my fence line, surveying my property like some kind of covert mission. I watched from my porch as they scanned the area. One even pointed at my old tractor, muttering into his walkie-talkie. I stepped out onto the porch, my boots crunching on the gravel, and called out, "Something I can help you with, boys?" The tension builds. "We're conducting a compliance sweep," one of them said nervously. "Under HOA protocol," I stepped forward. "Got a badge?" They froze. I told them to leave and that they were trespassing on my property. But as they walked away, one of them dropped his clipboard. Inside, I found patrol maps, photos of my property, and, most damning, a note that said, "Alpha High Resistance." That's when I realized it wasn't just Karen. This was coordinated. I contacted a sheriff's deputy who confirmed the HOA didn't exist. Karen had created this whole operation herself. My property had been marked as a target for some larger scheme. I wasn't the only one. Others were being watched too. Part 3, The Web Unravels. 5 minutes. Building the case. Karen didn't back down after her patrol failed. She doubled down, sending new threats, posting flyers with my property on them, and trying to turn the entire neighborhood against me. It wasn't about goats anymore. It was about control. It was a social campaign to isolate me, to break me down. Motion sensors on my property went offline one night, then another trail camera was disabled. And that's when it happened. Max, my border collie, was found behind the barn, bleeding from a deep cut. Someone had hidden glass near the entrance. It was a message. This wasn't just petty revenge. This was personal. The public reveal. I wasn't going to take it lying down. I filmed everything, the fake raid, the fraudulent documents, even the injury to Max, and posted it online. The video went viral in hours. The comments flooded in. People from all over the country started sharing their own stories about HOA tactics. And within 24 hours, my video had over 300,000 views. But even with the pressure mounting, Karen didn't fold. She upped the ante. Part 4, The Larger Conspiracy. 5 minutes. The shocking truth. Then one night, Karen showed up at my door with a manila envelope. She didn't smile. No clipboard this time. Just a quiet threat hanging in the air. She handed me the folder and said, "You've kicked something you don't understand." Then she left. Inside was a document labeled Regional Initiative Rural Behavioral Management, Phase 2. And as I read, it hit me like a freight train. This wasn't about the HOA. This was federal. A program designed to control rural communities through manipulation, surveillance, and fear. I'd helped create this years ago as part of a government project aimed at controlling outliers in post-conflict areas. The same tactics were now being used against me. The shocking turn. I reached out to Langston, the sheriff. He was stunned. "This is bigger than we thought," he said. And the more we dug into it, the more we realized Karen was just a pawn. This wasn't some local power trip. This was a government-backed operation designed to force people out of rural properties, and I was their test subject. Part 5. The final confrontation. 5 minutes. The showdown. I wasn't waiting for the authorities anymore. They were already involved, but I knew the next step had to come from me. The next time they showed up, they didn't knock. They came at dawn, moving through the trees silently, clipboard guy at the front, his 2 backup with rifles slung over their shoulders. I didn't panic. I'd been preparing for this. I moved quietly through my house, grabbed my boots and a mug of old coffee, and walked onto the porch. I stood there watching them,